Just look up this Brookie stream. It's just a little run in northern PA. My goodness, is that gorgeous. Look at that. But when you're working these kind of streams, it is a freaking blast. I mean, look at this. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. Hey everybody, Benny P here with Lively Legz Fly Fishing. It is the first day of trout here in my home state of Pennsylvania. And though I didn't make it out to fish for trout this morning, I did make it out this afternoon to do a little native brook trout fishing, and I decided to bring the camera to follow along with me so I could explain some of my tactics while fishing for these little mountain gems. I'm up here in northern Pennsylvania. This is a beautiful mountain stream. If you look behind me, let me see if I can zoom in. Absolute gorgeous stream with plunge pools, and you'll see the little waterfalls and drops. There's a lot of little springs dropping into this particular run, and what that produces is clean water, lots of bugs, and lots of fish. I've done a lot of research in this area, northern PA mountains, and I decided to go with this stream because I think not only is it eye candy, but it has a lot of brook trout, and that's what we're after today. So follow along. I'm going to show you some of the ways that I catch these brookies. I'm going to show you the equipment that I use, and let's see if we can get into some brook trout and give you a few tips so you can get into some more brook trout this season. Okay, let's run over some of the equipment I'm going to be using today. And this is a small mountain run. It gets tight in places, so I like to use a small rod, a shorter rod, and a smaller reel. The reel I'm going to be using today is the Redington Zero, and you'll see in the video a lot of times when I'm working up the stream and I'm eyeing up a spot, what I do is, this has a clicker drag system, and I just click out a little more line, feed myself a little line. I'll have my nymph in this hand, and you'll get really good at judging this. I get right to where I judge how far that cast is going to go, and I drop it in. If it's a little closer to me, I'll suck a little more in, and you'll see this in the video. And as I'm working my way up, sometimes you'll see me feed a little bit of line like this, pull back, and drop a cast into an area. And I just love this reel for that. The rod I'm going to be using is the Redington Classic Trout. This is a 7.63 weight. I find this to be a perfect rod for fishing in these conditions. If it gets more open, I can go with the longer rod where I get a little more reach and I can even stay further away from the trout. But there's a lot of tight quarters and tight places where I have to pin cast into, and that little 7.5 foot rod works perfect for me. Flies, let's talk about flies. And I'm going to show you some ice. Today is extremely cold. I'm not expecting topwater activity. Even though with brook trout this time of year you can zing a dry fly out there and catch one, I'm not going to be dry fly fishing. I'm going to straight nymph fish. And I have a box of Lively Legz nymphs. These are all tungsten bead nymphs. That'll be plenty of weight to get me to the bottom. I am not going to be putting any split shot on. It's going to be my tippet straight to nymph. I'm talking about tippet and line. Let's go ahead over that real quick. The line I'm going to be using, and this is a line that will not float. This is a European style nymph line, and it's very easy to cast on these little streams. And this is the Euro Phipps European nymph line. The leader I'm going to be using, it's one of our Lively Legz indicator leaders. This one is the 5-foot gold leader. Alright, let me show you. There's my Rio Phipps line, and it's a loop-to-loop connection. That loop is connected right to a Lively Legz gold indicator leader. I'm going to come down to the tippet ring. You'll see we have a tippet ring right there. It's already attached. If you buy one of these leaders from us, the tippet ring's on there. I have 5X fluorocarbon tippet and approximately 2.5 feet. That's all the more I need. This is not a deep stream. This is just a little run, and it's going to come right down to one of our Lively Legz double trouble golden stone flies, and that has been a killer pattern on the native brook trout for me. So let's go ahead up the mountain, set the camera up, I'll pull the fish in, I'll explain the spot, we'll hop to the next spot. In this clip right here, you'll see there's a rock right here. I'm going to work my way up, try to cast in and behind that rock. It creates a little slow spot. See if anything's sitting in there. I mean, they could be sitting 4 or 5 feet below that where it slices into that faster water, and they sit into those slow spots and they watch for food to be tumbling through the water column in the waterway. There it is. Pretty little brook trout. He was sitting, he's in the net, and I'll show you our net in a second as well. He was sitting on that other side. First cast, I wanted it more towards me, but I overcasted it. And I think he's a little pink belly. He's not a pink belly, but he's a pretty little one. All right, way to start it off. Fish number one. And he was sitting right there in that slow water. That rock kind of breaks up the run coming down through, creates a big slow pocket back through there. See that rock? Creates some slow water back through here, and he was sitting right over in here. All right, that net I just talked about, unfortunately we're out of stock, but we'll have them back in soon. We sold over 500 of these this spring already, and you'll see they're super deep, so they'll hold a decent sized trout. And also they have the small rubber coated mesh. I keep the brookies down in the water like this. It'll hold all those little brookies. It'll keep them from getting out. While I'm explaining things to the video, those fish are safe. They're in the water, and then I release them on video as you see. Okay, glad to get one in the net. In a lot of these places, I'm better off filming from a distance and sneaking my way up. You'll see the camouflage is on for a reason. I know there's a little bit of brightness in here, but I don't think this is giving me away, and this is a good luck neck gator for me, this brown trout one. I'm gonna sneak up and stay low, and there's a nice deep pool here. You can see the fast run coming under that kind of down log, down tree. I'm gonna zing it up under there, let it run down through and see if we can't pull another one out. Quick look, another beautiful little mountain gem. It's important when you handle these fish to wet your hands really well, make sure your net's wet. Don't keep them out of water too long. That preserves them for many generations. But I'm gonna walk you up and show you this spot. I missed that fish twice before I caught it. Okay, as you can see, I was standing right here. You have a nice run coming down through. It washes out. And the difficulty to this spot is getting a cast up under that log that's across there. But if you can achieve those casts and you work on them, get that cast under there, let it drop. I missed that fish twice. I would imagine it was that fish. And on the third good cast up into there, I was able to hook that fish. I hope you see the mountain laurel. And under that mountain laurel, tucked way back in, it's just a washout. What I have to do is zing a couple casts under it, then zing a couple casts on the other side and let it come through there. See if we can't hook up with one. So the cast was there on that when I hooked the fish. It was actually, I had to go up above it and get under that mountain laurel, but then I got into a tree branch down here and it got off, and that's the breaks. Part of the fun of it. Let's see if we can't trick one out from under this little washout. It worked, pinged right in the net. I'll bring it over here. So we're right on that spot. We got the little brookie in the net. And you can see the deep washout here. You get on the soft side of it, you just do a little drop cast in there. And that's all I did. I dropped it down in, gave it a couple little twitches, Boom, he dove out. I didn't even see him. He came out, grabbed it, my line went tight, and I set the hook. Wait till you see this guy. He is a pretty one. That's a gorgeous native brook trout here in Pennsylvania. We'll put him right back into where he came from. There he goes. Look at that. You gotta love it when a plan comes together. Just doesn't get any better than this. You have this fast water. It's washed out underneath this tree. Brookies sit under there. You just come up to this soft side, drop a little cast in there, give it a couple jigs. Boom, they dart out, grab it, your line goes tight, set the hook. One of my favorite spots last time I was here, right over in here, I caught a really, off that big rock, it's pretty deep. I just dropped the cast down into there and caught like pretty dark colored native out of there. Wasn't a big one, just had a really cool dark color to it. See if we can go over and get him again. Well, I ended up getting another one out of there. I don't think it's the same fish. Ooh, is this a pretty one though? Check this one out. It may be the same fish. Now looking at it, look at how dark that one is. That is one dark looking native. Look at his little red dots and blue halos around those dots. That's a pretty fish. There he goes, back into the deep. Probably the same fish. I didn't realize how dark he was till I got him over to the camera. But I'll take you up there and show you exactly where that guy came from. That is a cool little tricky spot you can pick fish up out of. Okay, so what I did on this fish, I worked my way up through this water. No takers, no takers. And you're gonna see this through the crystal clear water here. You see how that rock ledge comes out? That fish was up under that rock ledge. I just dropped it into there. I couldn't see my nymph. My sighter line and my line just tightened up, and that's when I set the hook, and there he was. Another beautiful little mountain gem to the net. All right, there's not really a plunge pool, but you can see how the water comes down through and it gets over that rock and creates a deep hole there. Should be a nice place for one to be sitting. Yes, indeed. Perfect spot. Let me get the camera over here. We'll set up to get a look at them. Okay, between these two rocks, right here, there's just a big, soft back eddy. That's where I dropped that nymph. I just underhand swung it, dropped it into there, lifted it up a couple times. The line went tight, and there he is. One gorgeous fish. And that was a perfect place for that fish to be hiding. You can see right there, those little soft pockets. Fish love to sit back in there and they're just waiting for a meal. Just have to stop right here and take a little video clip. Just look up this Brookie stream. It's just a little run in northern PA. My goodness, is that gorgeous. Look at that. One of the things when you're filming, you don't get to hit every spot you want to hit. I mean, when I'm not filming, I'm just walking up through this water and I'm just dipping and dabbing and dinking these nymphs in all over the place, and I'm catching a lot more fish. It's a lot more difficult trying to film this adventure. Setting the camera up, trying to get it to where I can get the fish on video. There's a lot to consider, but when you're working these kind of streams, it is a freaking blast. Look at this. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. Zoom in just a little more on that small waterfall up there. I mean, that's just gorgeous. Alright, found a little one hiding up in there. Come down and take a look at it. This one's a dink dink. Beautiful little fish though, par marked up. Goes. You see the double trouble laying beside him, and look at the par marks on that beauty. Those are beautiful par marks. Look at those things. Let's get him back in the water. Wow, is that a gorgeous fish. Bring you back down and show you where I caught this one and show you this fish. All right, first things first, let's get him in the water. Let's take a look at this guy. This one has an orange belly on him. It's funny how some of them, they don't have much color, some are pink. And look at his belly. There's one orange-bellied brookie. That's a beaut. Get him back in the water. There he goes, and you can just see this stream's getting better and better. Sad thing is I'm running out of daylight. Probably 7 fish in the net so far. Missed a couple. Not a knockout day, but a good day of brookie fishing. We've had a couple cold nights, and I think it slows them down a little bit, but we're getting some plunge pulls now, and this is great to see. As I'm working up and up the mountain, you can tell that I'm elevating a lot faster now, and there's just more brookies here. Just a real quick little deep spot here. Produces another nice looking little gem. Put this little guy back in the water. That's where he came from, right here. The more I go up the mountain, the more you're seeing these plunge pools, and this is what you want to get into. There's a lot of brookie up the mountain in these plunge pools. Pretty little run coming down through right here on that other side. It's a little bit softer. I'm gonna guess up towards the top on the other side, there could be a fish right there. Just as a guess, let's come over and look at this little guy. He was sitting right where I thought he'd be sitting, and I'll show you the spot once we get this fish in the water. Let's take a little look at him. There he is. He's one of the pink colored ones. You can see that lively legs, golden stonefly, double trouble right in the corner of his mouth. And those are size 12s, barbless. Put them back in. That's a barbless size 12. It's the same fly I started with. Puts a whooping on the brookies. I thought I lost the tail to that, but actually, if you look, that fly still has the tail, the legs, and the antennas. That's the fly I started with. Still looks pretty darn good. And all that was, you can see this little pile of rocks here creates a soft seam that runs across this right here. The run's coming through, the soft seam was on this side, I cast right into there, and wherever he was hiding, he darted out and grabbed the nymph. Okay, here's the kind of spot that can hold a big one. What's working against me is the sun at my back at this point in the day. So I'm gonna go behind these trees and try to get a cast into there so I'm not casting the shadow out over the water. All right, not a big one, but a pretty one. Let's go check it out. Pretty dark one. That's a pretty little one. Okay, here's a nicer look. It comes down, creates this big holding spot for trout. Down over. And into a nice plunge pull. Not the big one I was looking for, but look how dark this one is. It's a pretty one. It's crazy how much different they all look. Get them out and get the hook out of them and we'll get a look at them. Yeah, he's a really dark one. You see his par marks across him. Pretty little fish. Let's get him back down in. And there it was. That log came across, made a deep hole here. And he was holding just right out in here. Whew! Been a great afternoon, first day of trout for me. Gonna work up the mountain just a little bit more because I'm really interested. This is the furthest I've ever been up on a stream and it just seems like there's more and more fish. I'd love to catch one of those fish that cover up like this part of my hand. Seems like every time I go out I catch one. As soon as I'm doing a video, I don't get into one. But keep in mind, the whole time I've been fishing upstream, the best way to fish for these wild fish, these natives and wilds. So what I do is I throw in, right off the bat, I take my fly line and I pull that sag out of the line. So I'll have maybe just a little bit of a belly in the line, and as that belly's coming down through and my nymphs are hitting off the bottom, pretend this is my line. As soon as that tightens up, when a fish takes it, that's when you set the hook. Upstream nymphing, keeping the line tight, seeing when the fish strike, and setting the hook. Because when you look at this nymph, yes, it looks realistic, but when a fish grabs that in its mouth, it doesn't take it more than a split second to realize that's not really food, and it'll spit it out or reject it. So when you're fly fishing, you want to set that hook fast. All right, another little piece of information I wanted to just stress. I'm going to work up the stream a little bit more, and then sun's going down the mountain, and I don't want to get caught up here in the dark, so after a couple more fish I'm going to work my way back out. Just climbed under a log and I may have blown this spot up, but it's a nice little run. Soft sides towards me, so I'm just going to throw straight into it and just lift my rod as the nymph comes down through. And that worked perfectly. It's a nice little spot where I can, it's a better looking one. Not what I'm looking for size wise, but really pretty fish. There he is. He's got, let's point the camera down. Absolute gorgeous one with the double trouble the whole way down his throat. If you love those barbless flies, they come right off. And there he goes. That's just a little seam that's coming down through, coming right at me. I could tell it's a little deeper and a little slower on my side. I climbed under this big log and I had to stop and try it. I'm gonna stay back on this one. It has potential to be holding a larger fish. And it was, okay, headed up the run a little bit more. I had one of those nice brookies hooked. I didn't get them to the net, so I'm not going to land a nice sized brookie today, and I'm okay with that. I've had an absolute great day fishing for these native brooks. But as I headed up the run, it split into three, and I took what looked to be the largest split. As I went up it, there just wasn't fishable water, so I decided the sun's going down the mountain, it's time to turn around and go back home. The cool thing is, when I turned around to go back home, check out what I found laying here. Not only did I find one mountain buck shed antler, I found the other side. They were laying probably within 3 feet of one another right here on the ground, so though I'm not officially a shed hunter, I get it because I was pretty darn excited when I saw these two laying down there. So I get why guys go out and look for these sheds. It's an absolute rush. I'd like to thank everybody for following along. Be sure to check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and here on YouTube. And until next time, best of luck on the water.